First time I got staff was in 1997. I was there teaching a surfing lesson. I had a little scratch on my wrist. It hurt so bad, it was like someone just cut me with a razor blade. Next thing I know, they take me and I'm strapped up with IVs. There's something fundamentally wrong with going in the ocean on a summer day and ending up in the hospital. Something has to be done about it. I'm James Pribram, and I'm the Eco Warrior. What's up, people? This is James Pribram, the Eco Warrior, here in Grand Haven, Michigan, on a beautiful sunny day. Well, the Eco Warrior project, I started that in the beginning of 2006. The project is about me traveling around the world to regions of coastline that are being threatened by either pollution or overdevelopment. In the beginning, I would go there with a photographer who would document me meeting with local environmentalists and environmental groups. I would write a story about what the threat was, what was going on, who was involved. It began that way, and it kind of evolved and got bigger and bigger. Then it turned into a documentary film, which we've been working on. The documentary film is entitled Eco Warrior. It's just basically one man's journey to do what he can to make a difference. And it also is a project that is spotlighting other eco warriors like myself. I've been here 3 times. I've yet to surf, but I have a good feeling about this trip. Well, the crew in Grand Haven, Michigan was myself, David Vanderveen, and Vince Stewart. He's the filmmaker, the cook, the coordinator. You know, he's a great friend, he's passionate. When it really gets down to the whole thing, it's a core group of people who care about the same thing, and that's our oceans, our beaches, and the sport of surfing. And it's about what we do to preserve them. Grand Haven, Michigan, they have pollution problems on the Grand River. So we went back there and jumped on stand-up paddle boards and took a little spin around the wave. Everything that dumps out into the river was coming out and meeting the lake. Dirty runoff water, there was factories, it was, whatever was coming down the toilet was coming out there. Between this ocean and mountainside. And we just paddled through it to really just to experience what it was like. It's just the season.
We really want to raise awareness. We really want to encourage people to know they can make a difference when it comes to the quality of water in their hometown, their home beach, wherever it is, if it's on the Great Lakes or the ocean.
Each trip, what we do is we have someone who researches what's going on there, and basically they start feeding us information, and we research it. It's like a fact-finding mission.
The wind can be from the north to the south and anything in between, and a wave will show up here in Grand Haven. It's not always the best wave, but arguably we get, more waves than other places on the lakes.
Matt Cooper, he was a Great Lakes surfer we met in Michigan. He does water testing, and that's his main thing. He got it funded. He's like a mad scientist.
After a rainstorm, you can think of all those nasty things that sit on the landscape. It's their chance to wash off into off parking lots, off of streets, off of farm fields into small streams, then into bigger streams, and they end up on our beach.
If you were to go out there surfing in the polluted waters, what are some of the things a surfer might, contact?
There's all sorts of pathogens that we can expose ourselves to, and they can cause any number of different illnesses. We use E. coli as a tracer of sewage, essentially. So if we can go out there and just measure how much E. coli there is, that gives us a good indication of, how much sewage, the total amount of pathogens and nasty things we might be exposed to. But we want to make sure our data complements theirs, and so we're sampling it exactly the same.
We tested the water. Matt goes his way, goes to the lab. We go our way. The water has to cook in this incubator for 18 to 22 hours. So it was a couple of days later that we saw Matt and caught up with him at the lab. When we were in Michigan, Hurricane Ike flew over. It just rained nonstop for 2 or 3 days, and the rivers were starting to crest. Sometimes it's really hard to illustrate exactly how pollution is affecting the area that you're going to. But once you're there and you actually visually see it, you understand it. And luckily for us, we sat there in the rain and we filmed the whole thing. Grand Rapids, second largest city in Michigan, yet too big to handle its own poop. It doesn't matter if it's raining, flooding, snowing. If it's going on, you gotta be there in that moment and you have to capture that moment. That's what everyone wants to see. Everything I experience, whether it has to do with the environment or another issue, it's writing my thoughts, my opinion, and giving people what I think. And luckily for me, people want to hear my opinion. I write for the Surfer's Path. Every trip I go on as part of the Eco Warrior Project, I write a feature which would coincide with the documentary film. I just love life. I love living life. I like to write about it. I like to take part in it. Frankfurt Beach, man. It was classic. It was like a little left point. It was amazing. It is so hard to surf waves in the lake. It's incredible. It's completely different. Different currents, a different breaking wave, different type of swell. It was definitely challenging to surf those waves. After being on stand-up paddleboard for 4 days in a row, it was great to just go surf and catch some waves. That was my first time surfing the Great Lakes. Very fun session all in all. What reminded me of being a kid and why I started surfing in the first place is that first experience. And the first experience I had of surfing those waves in those Great Lakes, one was it was really difficult, but two, the people surfing there were having so much fun. They were smiling, laughing. They just weren't taking themselves so seriously. What I enjoyed the most about the Great Lakes is they were just surfing for the pure enjoyment, and that's why I started surfing in the first place. So it was very refreshing and nice for me to actually feel that again as a surfer. It's not like there's one beach on a lake where there's always waves. So these guys, they drive 5-6 hours the drop of a dime just to go find waves for 2 hours. It's all about the journey, Those guys have their journey, I have mine, and it's that finding that perfect wave that keeps us all together. How many times of the year do you actually surf out here, you think?
Oh, maybe 50 days a year.
Yeah?
If you're willing to drive around a bit.
There's always the classic parking lot moment of all the locals surfing, gathering and talking about who got the best wave, who got the best turn. Just a classic group of characters.
I live in the city, so it's fun for me to just walk across the street and get some waves. But there's a lot of issues with the use of the lakefront in Chicago. I was surfing down at 57th Street on the south side this winter, And the police pulled me out of the water, asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm surfing. They said, oh, that's fine, So I went back, surfed a little while longer. Pretty much there like 30, 40 police and
30, 40 cops?
fire trucks and ambulances, and they were all just sitting there chilling out, watching, smoking cigarettes and taking pictures. And then the captain or the sergeant or somebody showed up and saw the circus going on and pulled me out of the water and threw me in jail and wanted to charge me for like a separate felony for each city worker that was out there, that I was endangering their lives by being out there surfing. So I had to spend about $2,000 on a lawyer and spent a couple nights in jail. And
Couple nights?
Yeah.
No
and
way.
then they released me at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Still in your wetsuit?
Ballerina suit in the snow, that must have been quite a scene.
That was kind of a new twist in the Eco Warrior Project. I mean, we've dealt with pollution, we've dealt with development, and here we were dealing with surfing being illegal. Give me one good reason why those guys shouldn't be surfing in Chicago. I mean, what's the law about not being able to surf your home beach? It doesn't matter if it's development, pollution, or even a silly city law that prevents somebody from surfing where they should be allowed to surf and have fun. You gonna arrest me for surfing out there? Then do it, if you can catch me. To hear Jack's story it was phenomenal. And, to go out there and get away with doing stand-up paddle in downtown Chicago, Miracle Mile, and not get arrested, it was awesome. To say I'm deep in this project, I mean, I live it and breathe it every day. It's who I am, it's what I do, and it's certainly what I believe in, so to say I'm deep is probably an understatement.
Tribute to the Great Lakes. When the bacteria use this food, they actually will turn the water a certain color. It'll turn it yellow if there's bacteria there. It'll actually make the water fluorescent if there's E. coli there. A little more shaking here.
A little bit more?
Yeah, just make sure that's all dissolved.
It's always great to see Matt. A couple of days went by and I was excited to see the test results.
Some high.
Going in.
All right, cool. Now you gotta label that so we know what sample it is.
All right. What do you got?
All right, so this one is looks like 49.
It was like a CSI moment.
4, 6.
And you count how many squares there are that actually change color. And those are the ones that are actually with the high levels of bacteria.
Out of 100 milliliters of water, we can say on average there's 239 colony-forming units of E. coli. The standard for closing a beach is 300.
Oh, it is?
So 239 is actually, it's fairly high. It's getting up there.
Right.
But this wouldn't close the beach.
Well, when you have someone like Matt testing the water and finding out what the levels of E. coli are, I mean, that's something you can't dispute. If it's just Vince and I saying, hey, the water's polluted, look at it, it's brown, well, that's just us saying something. But when you get the data back, that's not someone's opinion, that's fact. So that's a huge vital part of what we're doing out there.
It's not enough that, would keep me out of the waves, but it would, it would make me think about it.
Most important about this is that we start looking for better answers and better solutions, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we want to do. Part of being an eco warrior is just learning. I mean, I learned from so many of these people. They're all just so well-versed in what it is they do and what they bring to the project.
All right, gentlemen.
We did our research, we went to the right places. When a trip goes that well, I mean, it just leaves you just so stoked. That's what we're trying to do every trip.
That was money.
Peru is the next destination, probably the final destination before we get into editing the movie, actually. So we're gonna go down there, we're gonna surf, we're gonna meet the local people, and we're gonna hear their story and see what's going on.
There's one in La Herradura, which is right here
Tequila
in Lima.
Point.
What did you call it?
Tequila Point.
Tequila Point?
Yeah, because
Right.
I can only pronounce it as Hiradero. And there's like a tequila in the States called something similar.
Really?
So I just call it Tequila Point.
Tequila Point.
Well, going to Peru, arguably one of the birthplaces of surfing. There's tons of waves. Unfortunately, there's quite a few waves under threat because of development. We went there to meet with the locals, to surf with them, and hear their stories and tell us about what's going on there.
Times are hard, girl, you know I love you so. I am the one that will never let you go. It ain't tough. I will you love and I'll give you respect, but that is all that you are gonna get.
I've been there before, and there's like one break next to another break next to another break. It's consistent, and there's a lot of waves there.
Finds it ain't tough. It ain't tough. Girl, give me what I need. It ain't tough. It ain't tough. All I need is love.
Unfortunately, Vince isn't coming with us, but another person, Will Henry, who founded Save the Waves, and he was the one who began researching where it was we're going and what the threat was and who to meet with.
The first thing that we learned about in Peru was at La Herradura, which means the horseshoe. It's a wave, probably the best wave in Lima. And a number of years back, the developer that owns all the land around that wave wanted to build a marina right where the wave now stands. We actually successfully convinced the developer that the wave was something to preserve, and they wrote us a letter saying that they would preserve it forever. Of course, I think one thing we've also learned over the years is to never say we've actually won something, because you never know what's going to come around the next corner.
That beach has gone through a lot, and now it's again being threatened by development, and they have all these different steps that they want to complete. You know, and the first step is to build a 3-mile or 3-kilometer jetty off the point. The reason for that jetty is to block the south current.
So
Lima
basically,
itself,
they would wipe out all the waves.
yeah,
in
wipe
Lima.
out all the waves in Lima. And down in Lima is where all the surf schools operate.
That whole area where everyone surfs is going to be flat. There will not be any more waves there for people to surf and enjoy. I have a feeling that's going to be probably my next huge fight. It's probably going to take up a great deal of my time, you know, coming up in the next 6 to 12 months.
The other day I was coming here for the first time. I thought I would see the pipe here, but I believe it's like right behind that point.
You know, we met a great guy, Sebastian. He was one of the best local surfers there. He's another one of those great people that I've met on these trips. We're going to run a lot of information through him, rely more heavily on him to set up meetings, and he's kind of going to be our guy in the trenches down there.
But they couldn't extend that out, so the fishermen had their port. And
I think right now what we're going to do is collectively get together and try to find the...
We can make an impact, grab and then take it.
to make a difference. I'm trying to encourage other people to also make a difference.